My name is Ali, I'm a doctor and YouTuber,
I'm Taymor, I'm a data scientist and writer,
and you're listening to Not Overthinking.
the weekly podcast where we think about happiness, creativity, and the human condition. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Not Overthinking. Ali, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, actually.
Classic.
Yeah, I've had a good week. I've had a few days off work, and I've only got 6 more shifts left until I am fully unemployed, officially unemployed. So I can come work for Causal potentially if I need to make rent.
Yeah, we're hiring some interns. That's a joke. Wait, no, we're not hiring any interns. That's pretty exciting. I don't like to use the word exciting because I feel like it's overused and diluted, but that is actually quite exciting.
Yeah, it is actually quite exciting. But I don't know if I've talked about this on the pod before. I'm really concerned that I'm going to wake up in the mornings and not have a reason to get out of bed.
You've talked about it, and then you went off on one about how, I've got this all planned out. I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. and do my thankfulness practice, and then go to David Lloyd gym, and then do my writing practice.
Okay, I remember now. That's fine. That'll be my meaning in life. I forgot I did that spiel.
Right.
So it just went out of my memory.
That's good stuff. So we haven't actually done the podcast for a couple of weeks.
Because we've been busy
on Skillshare.
Yes, very good. We've been busy watching online classes on Skillshare, who are very kindly sponsoring this episode. Taymor, why don't you tell us about Skillshare today?
Skillshare is the best way to learn anything online. They have
except for math science and computer science, of course.
Except for math science and computer science. And you can learn about where to learn those in the next episode. But for everything else, the Skillshare has classes about pretty much anything. I don't think we should let Ali plug his classes again this week. Ali has some classes on there that you can check out about filmmaking and studying and spaced repetition.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah. That was a guess. Complete guess. Check out Skillshare. It's, I don't want to say productive, but if you subscribe to current mainstream narratives, then it is a more productive way to spend your time than watching YouTube or Netflix. I don't subscribe to those narratives, but if you do, then check out Skillshare.com/notoverthinking.
Yeah, and you can get a 2-month free trial completely free of charge, and then after your trial is up, the premium subscription costs less than $10 a month, and it's totally worth it. And you absolutely can and should check out my own classes on Skillshare. There's one on productivity, there's one on studying for exams, there's one on using a flashcard app called Anki, and there's one on how to edit videos, and we've got loads more classes on the way in the next 2 months. So if you do sign up for a free trial, stay tuned for some fire content, as the kids say.
Nice. Good stuff. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring. Before I start talking about a few things, the ad read. Basically, I think yesterday or the day before or something. I can't remember how this came up, but I had this idea sort of germinated inside me for like a really what?
That's very technical vocabulary for you.
Yeah, big word.
Yeah,
3 syllables. German. No, so I had this idea for like what would be like a really funny like 4-panel comic. I mean, even like 2-panel comic. Basically, it'll be like a guy. Basically, there's a guy and a girl in the park. They're strangers. They don't know each other, and the girl is just like sitting down. She's got some headphones in and she's looking kind of pensive. And then the guy, kind of spots her in his field of vision, and she sort of catches his eye, and then he thinks, wow, She looks so sophisticated. I wonder what she's thinking, because like she's sitting there pensive with her headphones in, and then on the panel of the girl, it turns out that she is about halfway through like a 5-minute ad segment on a podcast, and she's listening to My Undies.
Nice, that's good.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Yeah, I think a comic is the best manifestation of it. Like it's like the bit is not long enough to deserve like a comedy sketch video, but I think like a 2-panel comic of like, wow, she's so sophisticated, and then our areas is coming, Me Undies.
Yeah, I think you should draw one of these.
Yeah. I'm glad you have your iPad. I was thinking of bashing out tonight.
I don't have an Apple Pencil with me though.
I have an Apple Pencil.
That's
always out of battery. No.
Oh, that might be tricky then. I don't think it's going to work.
Okay, so a few things that I'd like to talk about. I don't think we'll have a structured topic for this episode. I have a few things to talk about, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe you have a few things you want to talk about.
Ooh, that's pushing the boat out a little bit too much, Taymor.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Instagram. So,
Oh, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about as well. So we'll count that as my topic.
okay. Well, what did you want to say about Instagram?
I think you should go first.
Okay. So, it's no secret that I'd like to get to 10K. I think I'm at almost 8K followers right now. But I've kind of been thinking, like, I don't really understand what I'm supposed to do with Instagram. I mean, my Instagram usage right now is if I go on holiday somewhere or if I take a nice photo, I post it as like an actual post. And if I see something cool or funny in real life, I will add it to my story. But I don't like put out content on Instagram very frequently.
My man, do you create content on the regular?
That's the issue, my man. I'm not creating Instagram content on the regular. And I'm just trying to understand, like, what's a good way to use it? I feel like I'm in the same position where a lot of people are with, like, Twitter, where they're like, I don't get the Twitter thing. Like, what am I supposed to do on here? And I'm like, look, man, it's going to change your life. Like,
become a professional golfer.
Yeah, give me the spiel about how I'm supposed to actually use Instagram. Because I'd like to, I like engaging with people, but like most of the stuff that like comes into my head, I'll like tweet it. And I was thinking, I guess I can just like post my tweets on my Instagram story, and like maybe that'll be interesting. And I don't know.
There isn't really a satisfying answer to this, because just like with Twitter, people use it in different ways, right? There are some people that use Twitter and they have a private profile and they tweet like 200 times a day, like literally whatever thought seems to be on their mind, which is fair enough. It's a reasonable way of using Twitter. There are some people that use Twitter as, a way of following one direction. There are people that use Twitter like Naval, tweeting pithy fortune cookie insights. There are different ways of using Twitter, just like there are different ways of using Instagram.
Right.
So if you think about what are the sorts of pages that you personally follow on Instagram?
Okay, the killer Instagram pages for me are, first of all, meme pages. And I think that might be an avenue worth exploring. And then second of all, nature and animal pages. I follow a lot of nature and animal stuff, particularly whales and dolphins and that kind of thing. And it's just amazing, man. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but as a kid, like, I was into animals. I've always been into animals and stuff. And like, you read about whales and stuff, it's like, oh, cool, I guess whales exist. But like, as an adult now, just like contemplating the fact that whales exist, it's mental. It's crazy.
Not how to say those words.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's...
mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing.
I'm sure we're not allowed to say that either.
Yeah, so animal pages. And like, yeah, I'm not going to get any scenic shots of whales underwater.
Okay. Do you follow any individuals?
I follow some individuals.
I mean, like apart from friends.
Yeah, so I like followed like David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad. And then some people who do like action kind of stuff. Like I follow a bunch of people who do diving and that like adventure-y stuff, and like watching them do cool tricks and things.
Okay. And what value do you get out of following kind of the Vlog Squad and these adventure people?
The Vlog Squad is mostly like, I feel like I'm friends with them or something. So I just care about what's going on in their lives. Okay. The adventure people is like, whoa, that's really cool. He just did like a triple backflip off this bridge into this like lake, and it's cool to see. Okay.
So kind of coming back to your Instagram, what is the sort of vibe you want people to follow you for? Like if someone says, why do you follow refrigerated? What answer would you like them to give?
So here's the thing. I mean, historically, my Instagram has been a place for me to showcase my photography. And I actually get a decent amount of DMs saying like, oh my God, I love your photos. What camera do you use? Kind of thing. But I just don't do it like often enough. And so I don't know if that's I don't want it to be, it's just not really going to be like a photography Instagram, right?
Okay. Yeah, that was the sort of issue I had with my Instagram up until I think around about 7,000 followers. Which happened sort of early on in kind of 2018. No, I think it was when I was living with Molly. It was a few months into being a doctor, where I had this similar chat with Molly. I was like, Molly, I don't know what to do with my Instagram.
Yeah.
At the moment, I don't have a single photo of myself on it. It's purely just photography stuff. I tried to color coordinate my feed. I tried, got drone shots from Iceland and from Grenada and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, what's the point of the Instagram? And what I said was that, well, I'd like people to follow me on Instagram who care about me as a person and who want to kind of see what I'm up to.
Okay, yeah.
And she was like, well, it sounds like you need to post more photos of yourself on it then, if that's the case. So is that kind of where you want to head with your Instagram?
Not particularly.
If you ignore the counter signaling that you're trying to do by not engaging with Instagram.
I'm not trying to signal that I'm cool because I don't post on Instagram or anything like that. But I I don't find it particularly interesting to like post pictures of myself on Instagram. I think the kind of stuff that I find interesting / entertaining is more, it's like the kind of stuff that I tweet about, and it's like memes and things like that.
Okay.
Presumably you don't get much out of, I mean, okay, let's be real. Your Instagram is purely a business thing at this point. It's pretty much automated in terms of what you post, like the little clips and things, and you post a photo of yourself because you know people like it. But like presumably you don't actually get much out of that.
Out of posting a photo of myself?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of do. It's quite nice posting a selfie and color grading it in Lightroom and uploading it and trying to think of a caption.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then sort of contributing to the parasocial relationship, as they say.
The what?
The parasocial relationship.
I haven't heard this.
Oh, this is a term that I've been coming across it a lot recently.
Yeah.
I had dinner with a dude in Cambridge who is like proper internet. And
what
like,
does that mean?
As in he was sort of making YouTube videos in like 2008 level of proper
nice.
internet, and like knows like the history of YouTube, and like obviously like knows all of the big creators from like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And kind of understands their journey and kind of what they're doing now, and that is sort of very plugged into the creator ecosystem. Right. And he was talking about he's like just got this huge interest in the parasocial relationships, i.e. the relationship that fans perceive they have with creators, and the extent to which creators take advantage of that relationship, and the extent to which fans want the creators to take advantage of that relationship. And so all the Pokemania stuff, all the kind of reply guys, these are all parasocial relationships that form on the internet.
Oh mate, that's so interesting. I've been thinking so much about this recently. So what did he have to say about it?
He was mostly dunking on it, saying that it's dangerous and pernicious and bad in general. And that his concern with the internet creator culture is that people are playing into parasocial relationships with it, which is unhealthy for creators and also unhealthy for the fans who are following them.
Why is it unhealthy? I mean, I just view it as like form of entertainment kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, so why
does he think it's unhealthy?
I don't see anything wrong with it particularly. I think his point was that it's unhealthy because it's promoting a very, very one-sided relationship. And I think sort of similar to how back in the day, sort of these parasocial cliques used to form around celebrities, but to a very different extent that they do now. It would be like, Brad Pitt would be on the cover of a magazine and sort of the fangirls would like, talk about Brad Pitt's life, but they wouldn't have actual insight into Brad Pitt's Instagram story to see what he's actually doing in his life. Yeah. And so the parasocial relationships, sort of that celebrity culture has now gone mainstream. Where pretty much everyone who has a certain size following has this kind of cult parasocial relationship thing going on. And overall, like I don't think I fully agreed with him on this, but he just felt it was an unhealthy way for society to function, where people are relying on the existence and nurturing of these relationships.
That's interesting stuff.
And you have very much this is the relationship that you have with David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad. This idea of like, I feel like these guys are my friends and I want to see what they're up to.
They are my friends. Yeah, exactly. No, I think it can definitely, I mean, obviously it can be taken too far.
Yeah.
It feels like it's unhealthy if both parties are in disagreement about what the relationship actually is. For example,
you and David Dobrik.
Yeah, we're both on the same page. We're really good mates. I buy his clothes,
And he makes them for you. He's really doing you a service by offering you the opportunity by offering me the opportunity to buy his merch for you. Although annoyingly, he was at 24% off like on his 24th birthday, and I ordered like a bunch of merch for us like a week before that. So
you ordered a new batch of Dobrik merch, right?
Yeah, I spent like 150 quid on Dobrik merch.
Nice
for you and me.
Good stuff.
Should be arriving soon.
Wait, where was I going with this? I don't have much firsthand, like none of my friends are super into this stuff. I think it would probably be interesting to get a 12-year-old kid's perspective on like, what is your relationship with the creators you follow and stuff. Because I feel like for most people who I'm friends with and most people in our sort of age bracket, we haven't been injecting this into our veins since birth pretty much, right? Like I remember YouTube started being cool and interesting around like 2007, 2008.
But it was sort of like nerd. It was like nerd cool and interesting.
Yeah,
it wasn't like football team captain, cool and interesting.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Charlie Creek would have not been on YouTube.
Who's Charlie Creek?
He was like a football team captain type guy in my year.
Oh, really? Damn.
I don't even know if he was captain. He's just the first name that came to mind. I don't know why Charlie Creek came to mind.
I was like, you have some things to sort out.
Albert Forsey.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day, like the YouTube that we kind of grew up with was like Nigga Higger, CassMG, these kinds of people, mostly doing like funny / silly / weird things, and it was like, oh my god, this is so cool! I can watch like some random person like doing these things. It was like a very novel thing. Whereas now it's definitely a different relationship. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear this chap's view on like why he thinks it's unhealthy.
Yeah,
because I think it's more of like
pod at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure you can take it to an extreme, and like if you think that David Dobrik's actually your friend, I don't know, maybe that's unhealthy.
I think it was sort of he was citing examples of this parasocial relationship gone wrong. You might remember Christina Grimmie. She was one of the.
She was like a music singer.
Yeah, she was one of the cover artists who was part of Hugo Schneider's gang.
Yeah.
And she was doing a concert in somewhere in America, and a fan got a gun and shot her, and then she died.
Okay.
And I think his reasoning was that she had like snubbed him in some way or another.
Okay. Yeah.
Or he perceived it as such, and that was an example of parasocial relationships gone wrong.
Right.
But kind of coming back to your Instagram, how do we get onto parasocial? Oh, it was that. Like, what do you want your Instagram to be? What's the relationship you want people? Because like 8,000 people is a hefty number of people. It is like having a few thousand followers on Instagram is not just kind of a normal person who's followed by their friends and family.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a quote public figure to an extent.
Yeah, a big deal.
A big deal, exactly. With a big B and a big D.
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of on the fence because my general stance with things is like, I want it to be interesting and fun for me primarily. Otherwise, I won't be like keeping it real and all that stuff, right? And then if I can somehow, make it interesting and fun for other people along the way, then that's icing on the cake.
So then why do you care about Instagram followers? I mean, apart from to get the swipe up, which you say will unlock a new avenue of Instagram for you.
Yeah, so I like engaging with people in the way that I engage with people on Twitter. I quite like that, tweeting out random thoughts and things, like funny. I think I'd like to share more funny stuff. I think basically I just want to like repost memes and things on my Instagram story.
Okay. I mean,
the same way that I like.
So you still can without the swipe up feature.
But
you tend not to.
No. So I think what I actually want to do is use Instagram as like a public group chat. So the same way I use my group chats with my friends, like posting links, posting like memes and stuff like that.
So you're saying you want to expand your circle of influence outside of your village by having an Instagram account with more than 10,000 followers?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
But then, it's really like the story thing, and then my feed will just remain this...
That's okay. I mean, there's one school of thought, which is that the Instagram feed is now dead, and stories are where everything is at.
Yeah.
Like, I think... I don't know how many people view my images, but I feel like more people view my stories than view my feed posts.
Right, okay.
For the most part. So yeah, I mean, it's whatever you want it to be. If you don't have any sort of specific goals with it, other than this would be a good group chat equivalent, then you do you.
Okay, cool. I think I'm going to try using it as a surrogate group chat and see how that goes.
Nice.
Right, so that was one thing. Wait, now I wanted to say some more about this parasocial stuff because I have been thinking about it. Oh, mate, do you remember? Okay, I think it's time to whip out my lasers theory. The one that I proposed a couple of weekends ago when we were hanging out with some friends. Do you remember this? Wow. All right, fine. I guess I'll jog your memory. So we were talking about we weren't talking about it. I brought up the topic of...
so guys, I've been thinking.
Yeah, so it was about the whole productivity content creation cottage industry, right? And I have a feeling...
tonight. Never mind.
For a long time, the industry has not really sat right with me, and I think I finally managed to put my finger on why. I think the reason is that it reinforces the kinds of...
Oh, I get what
you get. Do you remember it now?
I remember it now, but please do elaborate.
Right. I think if you've listened to our episodes about transactional analysis, it reinforces the sort of I'm not okay, you're okay instinct that we all have pushing us forwards. I think, I think there are some people that will watch productivity content on YouTube and it'll make them more productive or something. They'll get some like value out of it or whatever, you know, and the people who are watching it, they want to get that value out of it. However, I think underneath that sort of surface level desire, underneath that sort of surface level desire of like, I want to become more productive, is a subconscious desire of, and look, this is a very colorful framing of it, but I really do think this is actually what's going on. It's like this I'm not okay, you're okay thing where you want someone who can be like a daddy figure to basically spank you and tell you that you've been a naughty, unproductive boy, and that like, I'm really productive and you're not, and and like if you read the comments on a lot of these videos, a decent chunk of the highest upvoted comments are variations on the theme of like, spank me daddy, I've been a bad boy. Let's open up some of your videos.
It's my favorite part of the evening.
Let's open up some of your productivity content and read out some of these comments just so you get an idea of what I mean.
This sounds a lot like a parasocial relationship almost.
Yeah, I think it's very much linked into all that stuff. Okay, what would you say? What are the hits? What's like some of your big productivity videos?
So there's one called How I Manage My Time as a Doctor plus YouTuber.
Oh, here we go.
9 tips for productivity or something.
How I Manage My Time as a Doctor plus YouTuber. 9.
That's the one.
9 time management tips.
Oh, 9.
Okay, cool.
I shortchanged myself. Oh, no, one of them must have been a sponsor. So in my head, I was thinking there were 8, but actually there are 9. I think.
Man.
Is that right? Is there a sponsor call to action in this video? It'll be the first line.
VPN?
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course.
Right.
I think the segue I said at the start is like, how we can most utilize our time. And speaking of time, this video is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
All right, good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out I'm not going to filter these. I'm going to read out the top comments on like, it's an infinite feed. All right, I'm going to read out the top 10 comments.
Okay.
And I suspect at least 4 of them will be of the variant, spank me daddy, I've been a bad boy.
Okay. I look forward to hearing.
Okay. Top comment number 1.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. 3.5k upvotes. This is the highest rated comment. He is a doctor, YouTuber, and professional piano player. Unclear where he got that. This video straight calling me stupid with no mercy. Right? Do you agree that that's basically like, oh, he's so productive, I'm so stupid kind of thing?
Okay, fine.
That's very much a spank me daddy, I've been a bad boy.
I have to agree with that one.
Okay,
fine.
So that was top 1. Okay, second comment. Love how you timestamp your videos so I can manage my time by fine, very very neutral thing. Third comment. At any given time, he's quoting you. At any given time of the day, I'm doing what I want to be doing. And then his caption to that is, seriously, how many people can actually say that? This is borderline spank me daddy.
I really don't think it is.
Okay, fine. Maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The third comment is
4th, you mean?
What?
We're on comment number 4.
Oh yeah. The 4th one is a bunch of like emojis, make some joke about your hand movements.
Oh yeah, classic.
The 5th comment is a comment about you speaking fast.
Classic.
The 6th comment is about you should collab with Thomas Frank.
Wonderful.
The 7th comment is...
He's also sponsored by Skillshare.com/not overthinking.
Nice. 7th comment is some reference to some joke you made. The 8th comment is... Here we go. So
Finally.
They quote you saying, I feel I have not missed out on anything by not watching The Office or Breaking Bad or Friends. And their kind of caption to that quote is, you have made me reconsider all of my life choices. All right, anyway, we'll carry on. Next one is...
We're on number 9 for the record.
Yeah, comment number 9 is... Sorry, Ali, I'm going to have to unsubscribe to your channel because my favorite YouTuber told me I need to stop watching videos when I get home.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Number 10 looks like he's just summarizing something about the 80-20 rule.
Oh, one of those growth hacker accounts, probably.
Yeah, maybe. All right, here's a funny one. I'm not first, I'm not last, but when Ali uploads, I click fast.
That's funny. So far we've had a grand total of 1. That's clearly a spank me daddy
Okay, look.
equivalent.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, for my...
But I get your point.
Right. For my point to be reasonable, it's not like you need at least half the comments to be that. Sure. I think a lot of the comments are like, dare I say, orthogonal to that issue.
He says it is Patagonia jacket. And segment.io t-shirt.
And Bloomberg pajamas.
Oh, yes. You really are just a walking stereotype, are you not?
All right, look. So a lot of the comments are completely unrelated to the sort of the spectrum of like
the spectrum.
The spectrum of like spank me daddy to whatever the other end of that spectrum is. Like someone just like making a joke or quoting something from the video about your hand motions. It doesn't like add anything for or against my theory.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And the point is, if you keep scrolling, basically, I think a noticeable number of these videos, of these comments on these videos, are of this kind of variant of like, oh my god, he's so productive, I'm so unproductive kind of thing, right? And I think this is kind of the secret motivation for why they're watching the videos. This is your elephant in the brain stuff.
Okay, hang on. On that note, do you think it's the equivalent phenomenon going on when you see a picture or when you look on a friend's Instagram, you see a photograph of an attractive Instagram model, and a lot of the comments are dudes saying, oh my god, she's so pretty.
Wait, what? So if you look at an Instagram model's page
and you look at the comments,
and it's like
a lot of them are either dudes saying, oh my god, she's so pretty, or girls being like, oh my god, she's so pretty, why can't I be so pretty?
I think some of them might be, but most of them, I mean, some of them will be, some of them will match the theme, some of them won't. Like, I think a lot of the sort of girls replying to other girls' Instagram posts saying, oh my god, you're so pretty, it's like a social contract thing. Like, there's really nothing to read into it. If it's like friends doing it to friends.
Oh, I don't mean friends. I mean like an Instagram model with like 2 million followers who's going to get thousands and thousands of comments on each individual photo. A lot of those people are not their friends being like, oh my god, Sandra, you're really hot. It's going to be dudes being like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, or whatever. Or girls tagging their friends being like, why can't I look like that? Or things like that, which I feel is borderline equivalent to the spank me daddy metaphor that you're propagating here.
So it's funny you bring that up, because I've often gone to the comment section of these wondering like, what the hell are people commenting? And it's mostly not dudes. I think it's mostly like girls commenting, saying like, there's actually surprisingly few dudes commenting like, oh my god, she's so hot, or whatever. I think that was more of a thing on sort of, I don't know, a bunch of years ago in the earlier days of things. That would have been more standard. But I think it's generally considered kind of lame for a guy to do that.
Damn. Uh-oh.
Sorry, mate. You got to change your tactics.
I've been doing it
wrong. Speaking of tactics, we have a friend of a friend. Apparently, so oftentimes these like Instagram models will do the sort of question. They'll do the like, ask me a question thing on their Instagram. This is so funny. You tell it. I can't tell it without laughing.
We've got a friend of a friend, right? And as you'll know, often these Instagram models will do things like post one of those Instagram questions saying, ask me anything. Now, this friend of a friend, the thing that he always posts on, like, invariably, is the question, pineapples on pizza, yes or no? And invariably, these Instagram models with thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not millions of followers, will always reply to that, like giving a very reasonable answer. Like they will engage with the thing, and then he'll get the notification that this person, name an Instagram model, whoever.
I wouldn't know.
This person has responded to your thing, and he then sort of gets really gassed, sends screenshots to all of his group chats, sends screenshots to his own Instagram story because he treats it as like a group chat. It's just the perfect question.
Yeah, the pineapple on pizza thing is another thing I've been mulling over ever since it became a phenomenon. I think
as in the concept of it, or his working of the concept.
No. So I mean, there is the phenomenon of people putting pineapple on pizza. Then there is the social phenomenon of this being like a sort of
a controversial issue.
A controversial issue,
like how often you wash your sheets or whether you pee in the sink.
Yeah,
everyone's got an opinion.
Everyone's got an opinion. I can tell you that. But no, I think the pineapple on pizza thing is interesting. It's always felt a bit. it's always felt a bit off to me because, and look, I'm not.
It's a bit performative, isn't it?
Thank you. Exactly. Look, I'm not much of a foodie, so like I might be completely off base here, but I feel like people overemphasize how much they kind of care about this issue. And I mean, this is not me dunking on them, but I think the interesting thing is like, why do people want to overstate their opinion either way about pineapple on pizza or not? And I think it is because generally having strong and specific opinions about something is considered kind of weird / nerdy. And the pineapple on pizza thing is a harmless sort of, issue.
It's a normie way of appearing weird / nerdy.
Yeah, it's a sort of harmless issue that gives everyone the opportunity to, kind of be a bit weird and nerdy about something.
I agree. I think in addition, there's an element of everyone wants to find their tribe. And whenever humans are together, they will find ways to separate based on kind of group affiliations.
Yep.
And the pineapple and pizza tribal affiliation is one very harmless, very easy way for people to feel part of a group that, oh my God, guys, he's putting pineapple on pizza. Anyone? And then you get that moment of like 2 seconds where someone else is like, oh, that's disgusting. And then you feel like, yes, I have an ally in this group.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of that concept. Kind of like if, for example, you would probably be more than okay with expressing the opinion that you've never read Harry Potter.
Sure.
Which would be a generally sort of harmless but divisive thing to say, depending on what group you're in.
Oh my God, you've never.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only watched the films. You've only watched the film.
And it's just, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think what you're doing there is you're injecting a little bit of banter into the group setting, which is what people are doing with the pineapple situation.
Yeah.
And B, you're also doing a tribal affiliation thing, consciously or not.
Yeah. Okay. Back on track to the theory. Just to restate the theory, I think the elephant in the brain link, I think is definitely there. So a couple of episodes ago, you read this book called The Elephant in the Brain about how our true motives are actually very different to the surface level motives that we tell ourselves and that we think we're doing things for. I think the surface level motive why people watch these videos on YouTube is, I would like to be more productive. And that's not to say that they don't want to be more productive. They definitely do want to be more productive. However, the thing that subconsciously keeps them coming back to these is the fact that they can get sort of, they can reinforce their I'm not okay, you're okay position by seeing someone who is in some sort of position of authority and sort of highlights the fact that they are unproductive or bad or naughty or whatever. That they're looking for someone to basically, be their daddy, to use the metaphor. That's the theory. And look, you can look at these comments. I think a surprising number of comments reinforce that. And this is why the whole thing has not sat. What's the right way to sit and right with me? Does not sit right with me.
I think sitting is the way forward. It sits not right with me.
Right. The whole thing doesn't sit right with me for that reason, because I think it reinforces this kind of really kind of sort of unhealthy, nefarious thing in people. And I think there's definitely a natural tendency to seek out people who seem to have the answers, to seek out people who seem to be better than you, to seek out people who seem to have some authority, and to want them to, like, spank you. Maybe it's just me.
No, so the reason I brought up the Instagram model scenario is because I wonder if this is just your spank me daddy metaphor in the productivity sphere is just a subset of the wider issue of, for example, beauty standards and body standards. And
yeah.
People who wanting to lose weight will see these kind of, I don't know, all these supposedly trashy magazines where people have lost weight on the front covers and like, oh my God, how is she so slim? Yeah. We all know people who are like, would see someone who's slim on TV and would be like, oh my God, screw her, she's so slim.
Right.
That sort of thing. I feel it's a similar kind of thing that people are getting at. What a person who I've heard multiple people comment about is Nigella Lawson, about look at her, she's so perfect, she's thin, she makes good food, her house is always in order, like, oh, screw this girl. But like in sort of a jokey way. Like
Right,
they're not
yeah.
entirely being serious, but I think I wonder if that's tapping into the same undercurrent of Spank Me Daddy.
Let me have a think about that. I think it is. I think it's a related phenomenon, but it doesn't quite feel the same to me. Just let me have a think about this. Like the Instagram models thing.
So what you're saying on the productivity front is that one of the reasons why productivity content has a certain level of popularity is because people enjoy seeing someone who is supposedly more authoritative or better than them at a certain thing
Yep.
that they want to be better at. But instead of just taking away the practical, actionable tips about being better at that thing, people get some sort of kick out of seeing someone who is so far ahead of them in this particular sphere. Someone who
Yes.
seemingly has their life together. It becomes a case of, my life is so crap, this person's life is so amazing. Potentially similar to how, the phrase misery loves company.
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
And sort of when friends will get together, you'll find that sort of often there can be this dynamic where everyone in the group is sort of vying for the position of kind of
Woe is me.
Well, exactly. I've got it worse than everyone else. Oh, look at how bad my life
Ain't
is.
it awful? Yeah.
Ain't it awful? That's the game they're playing.
Yeah. I think it's definitely. Look, I think it's related to all of these things, but I think the productivity thing is a important special case because it's a lot more nefarious, right? So, like for example, with sort of unrealistic beauty standards, it's no secret. Everyone knows. When you look at one of these ads, it's like, wow, they're in such good shape. I'm not good. Like, you don't look at those ads thinking that, man, this is going to help me get in better shape. There's no pretense about what's going on.
Don't you?
What?
Wait, which ads are you talking about?
Which ads are you talking about?
I'm saying like any kind of generic.
You mean like the men's health magazine with this like ripped dude on the front?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Where the headline is literally 10 tips to get six-pack abs.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's reading that, not for the 10 or
10 tips to be like Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I don't know the psyche there. Let me maybe it's related. But it doesn't feel quite the same. Let me read out something. So
Okay, so one of the reasons why I'm immediately taking issue with your theory is because the way you're positioning it is as this is something that I feel other people are doing.
I understand.
So if you can, and so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think in my own life, because I can only really speak for myself,
yeah.
of examples in which I might potentially fall into the Spank Me Daddy trap.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking one of those might be watching someone like, work out with Zac Efron, like those types of videos.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking that actually I don't feel any sense of, oh my God, Zac Efron has really good six-pack abs. Oh, and I'm a fat slob. Like,
Right.
I really don't feel a sense of that.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, he's working out with Nina Dobrev. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Let's go with that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like with the fitness thing, I wouldn't really look at someone doing a fitness tutorial and think, man, I'm so like unfit and he's so fit and like he's like better than me or whatever. I mean, we can look at some comments. Look, basically, a noticeable number of comments on productivity videos are of the Spank Me Daddy variant. If we look at Athleen's comments, it's just not.
I think Athlean has significantly less of a parasocial relationship than certain types of productivity content. For example, someone like Athlean, when he's giving sort of five tips to boost your triceps or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think many people are watching that and thinking, I can relate to this guy. This is like one of my dudes.
Yeah.
I think if someone like me does a productivity tips video,
okay.
any Asian male or potentially Asian female of a few years younger than me and younger will feel some level of relatability to this kind of thing. And so it's like oh lol, you're the all of the brown auntie's dream child or something like that, which I don't think that's necessarily a case of Spank Me Daddy. I think it's just a case of being able to relate to someone and then writing a comment, a funny comment that lots of people will get on board with.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think you're right about like the fitness channels are different because they're not portraying a lifestyle. They're not like selling a lifestyle. No, they're not selling their life.
They're selling specific tips.
Exactly.
Usually. Yeah.
They're selling like you know,
Supplements.
supplements. Yeah. Nice. Whereas, like, again, on the face of it, you're selling productivity tips, but I think what you're really selling is like, look at how cool my life kind of is, and that's kind of a big part of why people are watching these things. And because it also seems like it's sort of within reach. It's like, well, just a kid who went to university and, you know, has a computer and stuff. Like, yeah, I could do that or something, right? Whereas, you know, Athlete X is, I mean, I don't relate to him in the slightest. I watch his videos, but yeah. Okay, so look, let me read out an anecdote from, of course, an Eric Weinstein podcast that touches on the same topic, right? So I have a page about this general theory of mine in Rome, and I have some notes that I made after listening to this Eric Weinstein podcast. So in one of his podcasts, and we'll dig it up and link it below. All of his podcasts are good. He says that he talks about these sort of wealth porn articles that you see in the New York Times and stuff, where it's basically an article about how disgustingly rich some people are, and you know, there are a bunch of these, and it's a really bizarre genre, but it's like there was one recently that was doing the rounds on Twitter of like how to basically really rich people have two homes. They have the city home, and then they have the country getaway home. And apparently, you know, a lot of these people want to stay more long term in their country away home because of the quarantine and all that stuff. But it's a bit of an adjustment for them, you know, to spend a long period of time at the second home kind of thing. And there's a whole article about this. And the point of these articles is to give you a feeling of like both pity and envy. Pity of like, oh my God, these people are absolutely disgusting. Like, come on, you think this is a problem? That kind of stuff. And then there's the envy of like, damn, they're pretty rich though. That 2-door fridge freezer. Right? And so these articles induce like pity and envy from the people who read them. And Eric says that there's a similar thing that goes on with popular physicists, so people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and stuff, where their whole shtick is to say stuff that sounds clever and mind-blowing so that other people can be like, whoa, man, he's so smart. That's like, whoa, I have no idea how, you know, the cat is dead and alive. Man, physics is crazy. That kind of reaction, right? And yeah, so like the sort of popular physicist induces a sense of, whoa, that's so like cool, and a sense of like, whoa, that guy's so smart and I couldn't possibly be. And I think Eric does a really good job in describing this as an abusive relationship, because it's kind of like a bit of positive and a bit of negative that keeps you stuck in the loop. It's like the positive of like, whoa, the universe is actually pretty wonderful or whatever. And then it's like, man, I couldn't possibly fathom it. And Eric is annoyed at the popular physicist because any decent educator would know that if you really want to explain these concepts, that's not the way to do it. You know, if you really want to explain a concept, the way to do it is not to say a statement that's obviously not true, like the cat is dead and alive. You know, by most people's definitions of cat is dead and alive, that doesn't make sense, right? And yet these people are doing it because it elicits this kind of reaction of like, you know, whoa, so smart, I have no idea how this works kind of thing. And I feel like it's the same thing with it's a similar kind of abusive relationship with the productivity porn, hustle porn kind of stuff, where it's like, whoa, this guy's so productive. And like, oh man, I'm so bad.
Oh, wow. You've really been working on that one, haven't you?
It came from the heart.
Well, that was very natural.
Right?
Yeah,
so
I agree. I think that's definitely an element of that.
I think abusive relationship is a good way to describe it. I think it is exactly the same phenomenon that Eric is describing about the wealth porn and about the physics porn. I think there's some relations to the stuff that you talked about, like like models on Instagram. But, well, here's the other thing about the models on Instagram, right? Okay, look, it's not really my area of expertise.
That's the party line anyway. I've seen your Instagram.
I wouldn't know why people... No, look, I don't really... No, I'm not going to claim to understand the mentality there because I don't really sort of engage in that too much. I think you do more so than I do. So maybe.
Wow. Supposed to be a private matter table. Gosh, it's public-private life separation.
Right, but I mean, I think if it's a guy following like a hot girl on Instagram, right, it's a very different thing to a girl following a hot girl on Instagram. Right, if you're a guy, you're looking for some eye candy on your feed, and you're not going to feel a sense of like, oh my god, she's in much better shape than I am. Like, obviously.
I don't know. So,
damn. All right.
A few weeks ago, I think I mentioned on the pod that I had started unfollowing all of the hot girls on my Instagram. So apologies if you're still being followed and you're listening to this.
Oh my God.
And honestly, the reason why is that because
that's one of the best jokes yet.
Thank you. Honestly, the reason why is because I'd be scrolling through my Instagram and sort of once you see one hot girl and they're with their friends and then you click on it and then you tag and then you see another one, then she ends up being a hot girl and they're with their friends and stuff. Like, in a way, it creates this internal feeling of sadness.
I'm like, I could never, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. I could never have friends like I could never have friends.
Right.
And it was that it's that internal feeling of sadness that always led to me then, in a way, in almost like a masochistic loop.
Right, yeah.
Continuing to be like, oh, suggested accounts, right? Click on that one. 2 million followers. Oh, yeah, she's really pretty.
Yeah.
You know, send a cheeky DM to the relevant friends who would appreciate a certain aesthetic, as it were. And I just felt like, overall, it was a very uninspiring thing. Like, for example, if I see friggin' Zac Efron and his six-pack on Instagram, I'm not feeling sad. I'm feeling motivated to pump out some press-ups and pull-ups and stuff. Okay. If I see sort of the equivalent Instagram female model,
right,
I'm not feeling motivated to do anything at all. Instead, I'm just feeling, oh, what is my life? I'm just going to keep scrolling.
Okay.
And so I think, in a way, that's sort of in my mind is the closest thing that I can think of that comes close to this. In a way, this spank me daddy metaphor that you're peddling.
No, it's not the same thing. I think that's a completely different. I think that's a very interesting and very candid of you to admit to this on the podcast. But it's not the same thing at all. I think in the sort of look, the feeling you're describing, and look, I can relate. I think basically everyone can relate. Is like, wow, she. Here we go.
Wow, she dumb.
Shawty dumb.
She fucking stupid.
Shawty stupid. Oh man. Okay, this is a reference to a really funny comedy sketch video by a guy called Stevie Emerson. I'll definitely link it. It's so funny. Right. Just to summarize the phenomenon you're describing, it is, wow, that girl is so attractive. I am not attractive, and a girl like that would never be attracted to me. That's and then that leads to some sadness, right? That's what you're describing.
Correct.
I can relate. Everyone can relate.
Hit the nail on the head.
Right? I think that's a different thing. That's like,
and you don't think a comment saying this video straight up called me stupid for 20 minutes straight is equivalent to, wow, that guy's so productive, I'm so unproductive, I'm never going to be that productive, therefore I'm sad.
No. Look, I just think that like the sort of mating sphere is a special case where like everyone has separate issues there compared to everything else. Like the she's so attractive and I'm not that attractive. It's like,
so I'm querying what's the difference between that and she's so productive, I'm not productive.
Right. No, I think it's different because I think like it's definitely different. All right, let me tell you why.
Yeah, by all means.
All right, here's the thing. Here's why. To use the I'm okay, you're okay kind of language here. I think the not okay that you feel in the sexual sphere, the sort of insecurity of like, I can't attract a mate kind of thing, or like I can't attract this kind of mate. You know, that insecurity, I think is, yes, here it is. I think you can on the whole feel okay. You can on the whole feel like I'm okay. And you can still feel the kind of sexual insecurity of I can't attract a high value mate, because the mating game is just like a well-defined thing of like, this is what makes someone attractive. You're not that, and this other person is that. And so I think it's a very well-defined game in which you lose. Whereas the productivity thing, it's not a well-defined game at all. It's very leaky. It leaks into all the other aspects that would go into whether or not you feel okay or not okay, I think. Like, it's just... Okay, but basically, I feel like in life, there's the mating game, and then there's the everything else. And,
That's a very interesting way of framing the world.
Right. No, but like...
You're saying that the mating game is a different kind of game to most of the other games that we play.
Yeah, and look, this is not game in the transaction analysis sense of game, but like...
Game in like the tech bro sense of game.
That particular like sphere of things, I think, is like a kind of like a standalone thing. And now people are like, actually, no, everything in life is about sex or whatever, that kind of thing. Fine, maybe it is. I don't know, but I feel like the sadness that you feel from that kind of thing is a very narrow sadness. It's like a sadness of like, yeah, I think that's that's what I think the reason is. It's like a very it's a narrow kind of...
It's a sadness that's confined to the domain of mating.
Yes, yeah. You're not going to like then conclude, you see some hot Instagram model that's way out of your league. You're not going to then
conclude that your life is worthless.
I'm a waste of life. Yeah. I'm a waste of life and I should give up.
Whereas you think if you watch a productivity an alleged productivity guru's video, you would be more likely to conclude, I'm not this productive, therefore I'm a waste of life.
Yes, 100%, because of the satanic workism, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to say capitalism because I think it's overused as like a catch-all term, but there's a general narrative around like your self-worth is tied to your economic productivity. There's definitely very much that kind of narrative.
And you think that's more of a narrative than the narrative of your self-worth is tied to your sexual market value? I feel like more people in the population as a whole would sympathize with the sexual market value rather than with the. I think it is a very specific demographic of people that would put the hustleism above mainstream kind of consumerism to try and be more attractive. I think both things are tapping. Like I see what you're saying about the Spank Me Daddies. Yeah,
yeah.
I think both of them tap into. The only reason I'm saying that is because I get if I'm scrolling through the right person's photos on Instagram, I will get a sense of a certain perverse kick out of doing that for the sadness that I feel that I can't live up to that ideal.
Yeah,
and I think probably that's similar to the perverse kick that people might feel when watching, I don't know, Ruby Granger's productivity videos and feeling like, oh my god, she's so productive, I couldn't possibly ever live up to that.
Yeah, maybe it's the same phenomenon. Maybe.
If anyone's listening to this and you feel that phenomenon in any domain, please do send us a voice note to hi@notoverthinking.com.
I think we can just call these people out who write these Spank Me Daddy comments. So, James, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I mean, Eric's thing. I don't have a parasocial relationship with Eric. Well, we actually interacted once in a Clubhouse room. We had a brief chat.
What's going on with Clubhouse? Is Clubhouse still a thing?
I think it's still a thing. I haven't used it for a bit.
But I feel like this stuff people talk about for 2 weeks, like Warzone. Like I haven't heard about Warzone for months now. Is Warzone still a thing?
Yeah.
Is Fortnite still a thing? Because I feel like I haven't heard about Fortnite since Warzone came out. And it seems like there's some other thing that Ninja was going on about the other day. What's it called? Light something. There's some like new game that everyone that's all the craze.
Oh, really?
Man, the internet just moves on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a cycle of like talking about something, and then there's a cycle of like, for example, you probably haven't heard of Pokemon Go since 2016 when everyone was playing it, but they basically made like $100 million in one day selling tickets to a virtual event a few days ago or something. Like, Pokemon Go is a huge deal. It's an absolutely massive deal. It's just that
no one's talking about it anymore.
Yeah, the conversations around it do not happen kind of in the mainstream. I think Clubhouse people are still very, very active on Clubhouse.
So you and Eric are friends then?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Wonderful. When's he appearing on the podcast?
Mate, that would be killer. That would be killer. I feel like we haven't gotten to the bottom of this, man. Like, do you think... So Eric describes two similar phenomenons in the sphere of wealth porn and physics porn. Do you feel like that's the same thing?
I liked the point about it being partly partly sympathy and partly envy. Because, again, and I don't like to sort of opine about the mental states of others.
Sure.
Unless I can sort of fully relate
Sure.
to that experience. Was with that caveat, there is a brand of anti-productivism propaganda, as it were, that says, all these people that worship at the altar of productivity, these people are misguided. Life is about smelling the flowers. Life isn't about economic productivity. Right. That general kind of spiel.
Okay.
And I feel like the people who have that view will watch productivity content partly with a feeling of sympathy and partly with a feeling of envy. And so the people that I recently put out a sort of my insanely productive morning routine video. I shouldn't have used the word insane. That was bad. But like insanely being in all caps, which was, it was actually designed to be a parody of American Psycho, which has like a famous, stupidly kind of morning routine, like this psychopath is going through their morning routine and talking about, and then I go to my mirror and then I shave and then it gets the hair off of my face and that tells me that I'm ready to face the day. Right. You know, that kind of vibe, which was the vibe of my productivity video. About half the people watching it got the fact that the whole thing was a joke and a piss take. Yeah. The other half of people didn't. And the comments from the other half of people were generally sort of this vibe of, I pity you because you are clearly misguided and worshipping at the altar of productivity, completely missing the fact that this whole entire thing was a joke. Yeah. And so I think that's a similar kind of relationship to the wealth porn that you see. The productivity porn has that double angle to it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. That is an interesting point. And I imagine those people got a massive kick out of writing those comments. I imagine that was a lot of fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course it is. I wonder...
It's not the same thing, man. It's a different thing. Just admit it.
I've kind of had another thought. So, if I'm watching, for example, a comedy show like Would I Lie to You, and Lee Mack comes out with an absolute banger, part of me feels that was really good. Another part of me feels, why can't I be that funny? And it's that perfect combination of pleasure and pain that keeps me coming back for more. And then the next time around, I'll challenge myself. Right? No. I see how he got that. Like next time around, I'm going to see the reference.
I could have done that. I could have said that.
I'm going to think of it in my head. Yep. Then he comes out with another one. Like, oh my god! And it's this vicious cycle that continues.
No, that's not the same thing. I mean, look.
I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm saying
I think
orthogonal.
that is a phenomenon. But I think that's an interesting bit of candy you've thrown into the mix. But I think it is, not really like a proper issue. Like I don't think it's part of like this thing, right?
No, it's not a spank me daddy thing. As in, the reason I bring all of these up is because all of these different circumstances, to my mind, feel somewhat similar to the to what I imagine you are hypothesizing that some people feel when they watch certain brands of productivity videos. Yeah. Despite you or I not being able to relate to the spank me daddy feeling when it comes to specifically the realm of productivity videos. And I'm wondering if if it's actually all just the same phenomenon, but because you personally haven't experienced it, you're ascribing spank me daddy intentions to other people that you have no insight into the mental states of. Okay, yeah. Let me try and think of when I've wanted to be spanked, as it were. I wonder if you. Okay, so I'll talk about I'll talk about myself first, and then I'll say an arena in which I think you do the same thing. Oh, okay. So I am often more than open about the fact that I'm not very good at cooking. Okay. And when I mention, and I'm also very open, generally more than open about the fact that I tend not to wash my bed sheets very often. Okay. And when that's brought up in a certain group of people, similar to pineapple and pizza scenario, people will have strong opinions about this one way or another. Okay. Usually the other. Right. I think you historically have been open about the fact that you wee in the sink. At university, I used to pee in the sink. Okay, good. That's fine. And anytime, and you were more than okay to mention this conversation, and it would result in essentially a spank me daddy situation. What? For example, when I say that I'm not very good at cooking, I just kind of live off takeaways. In a way, I'm inviting people to spank me in that situation. Okay, yeah. When I say I don't wash my sheets, or I wash my sheets once a year, I'm inviting people to spank me. Okay. When you were saying you pee in the sink, you were literally inviting people to spank you. You're like, oh my god, Tamer, what the hell's wrong with you? You're a waste of space. And you get a kick out of that, just like I get a kick out. No. Here's the thing. Right. Here's the thing.
My peeing in the sink game is a classic game of now I've got you, son of a bitch. Just like the I think incest is okay game, because it's something I've spent some time thinking about, and I have an airtight defense of peeing in the sink and incest within the sexual liberation framework that we're kind of in nowadays. You know, that like, yeah, I agree that something is afoot, but the thing that is afoot is that I know the mate in four, basically. It's not me wanting to get spanked.
Okay, fine. It's just me then.
Wait, so when you bring up the fact that you're bad at cooking,
part of that is I know the mate in four for that as well, which is about the associated value of time and all that kind of stuff, which is my defense for not being very good at cooking.
Okay.
But partly it's because I welcome the inevitable spanking that will ensue as a result of me openly admitting that I'm not very good at cooking.
Nah, that's a different kind of spanking. That is the same. I mean, that's kind of like the similar trolling you do about not knowing popular cultural references and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's that kind of trolling. So I think it's a different kind of spanking.
It's not a spanking that's actually going to make me feel sad about my life.
Yeah. It's not like it's a harmless spanking.
It's not going to leave any permanent bruises.
No. Do you remember we used to get spanked at school in Lesotho when we?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I was a good boy, so I never got spanked on the bum, only once on the knuckles. I don't know if you used to get spanked on the bum. I feel like you were a fairly good boy as well.
Not by the teachers.
Oh, man.
So good.
How does he do it?
How does he do it? Basically, we spent the first few years of our life in a country called Lesotho in southern Africa, and there was some like light physical punishment if you were naughty or whatever, and they were like the consistently naughty kids who, they got spanked, man. I can't say any other way. They got spanked with the meter rule, the wooden meter rule.
Or sometimes the feather duster.
Or the handle of the feather duster. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's a good place to end this.
All right, I feel like we haven't gotten to the bottom of this. I will do some more thinking. This is a seedling of a theory of mine. I unveiled it a couple of weeks ago in a trusted circle of friends where you were present. I think it needs some thought, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
All right, cool. I just had a few other things to touch on.
Dude, it's midnight.
Come on, man.
Okay, fine. Continue.
The first is our perceptions of distance.
Oh, God.
Do you know this one?
No.
All right. Basically, if you live in the UK, a drive of an hour or longer is a long drive. You know? If someone lives 2 hours away from you, you're going to see them once a year or something. In California, a drive of an hour is basically the minimum. You're always driving at least an hour to go anywhere. And a drive of 2 to 4 hours is your idea of fun to get out of the city on a weekend. And every couple of weekends, you may well be driving 2 to 4 hours to somewhere to go hiking or whatever. It's a very normal thing to drive that distance. Whereas in the UK, because it's just much smaller, the perceived sort of cost of driving these distances is very different. And I think it's nuts. So last weekend, I drove to Oxford to meet up with some friends. And how long was the drive? Like less than an hour and a half or something. And in my head, that was like, oh man, I have to drive all the way to Oxford.
Woe is me.
Woe is me kind of thing. But it was sick. I listened to an audiobook. I basically finished almost a whole audiobook in the car. It was like really good reflection time for me because I don't have a commute these days. And so like it was sort of alone time sitting in a car, just like thinking about stuff. The thing is that when we're doing the calculus in our head of like, should I travel this distance? We tend to see the driving time as like a pure cost. It's like, oh man, that's 3 hours of my life I'm not going to get back. It's actually a gain. It's like, with audiobooks and podcasts or whatever, worst case scenario is you'll be listening to something cool and interesting, and then just time for reflection or whatever, right? And so I'm going to make an effort to do more of these trips. So this weekend, tomorrow, in fact, I'm going up to Birmingham, which is like under 2 hours. It's like an hour and a half again, an hour and 40 minutes or something, to hang out with a friend and see some family. And I'm really looking forward to the car ride. I'm listening to a great audiobook right now called, let me get you the name.
White Fragility.
No. Called A Distant Mirror, The Calamitous 14th Century. It is a book about life in the 14th century.
So
Told.
it's a book about history.
It's a history book.
Those are like two of your least favorite things.
Yeah.
History and book.
Yeah, I've come a long way. No, here's the thing. I'm pretty pissed about history education at school. I thought history was the most boring subject at school. I think I've done this rant before on the podcast, where we learned about freaking Mott and Bailey castles, and we learned about how Harold got shot in the eye with an arrow or something like that. And it was just so boring and irrelevant. But now I think history is actually super interesting. A, it's just like cool stories. But B, this thing, the thing I'm reading, A Distant Mirror, is an account of what it's like to be a particular person. I can't remember the guy's name. He hasn't actually been introduced yet. But like, it's an account of like, you are this guy, this is what your life looks like in the 14th century kind of thing. And so it's like, yeah, it's an insight into the human condition, man. It's like connecting with your fellow man. It's like so cool.
Apparently, there are some historical fiction books that are that are in this vein.
Yeah, this is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, so it's a fiction book.
I mean,
but sort of based on real world
this
scenarios.
person existed.
Yeah.
This life. I mean, look.
Okay, right. It's not
the author might be saying like, you know, and then he did this or something, and like he didn't literally do that on that day, but like you piece together all the sources and stuff, and you can paint a picture of what this person's day-to-day life might have looked like.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a few similar books that I have been recommended that are on my TBR to be read, which are sort of like that, but they would take, for example, the 15th century and sort of like a traditional fantasy book, where they'd follow the arc of multiple characters. One would be a peasant, one would be a farmer, one would be a queen, and eventually the characters would like meet and stuff. But it would be based on what the actual stuff happened in real life.
That's pretty cool.
How is this one so far?
It's pretty interesting. It's pretty dense, man. Like usual audiobook, like the past few audiobooks I've listened to have been like 10-hour reads or something. Like on Audible says like 10 hours.
How long is this?
30 hours.
Oh, okay.
So it's long. And
Tamo.
and the reason the thing I don't like about trying to learn about history is that there's just so many names, man. There's so many names of places, of people. And so I've just like resigned myself to like, look, I'm going to zone out a decent amount of the time. When she's talking about names, she's talking about stuff that I'm not actually that interested in. And then I'm going to be zoning back in when the action happens. For example, a topic that came up on my run this evening was...
You've been running?
I went on a run.
Wow.
Yeah. Was the attitudes towards children. Funnily enough, one of my favorite topics.
Or children. Oh, sorry.
Attitudes towards
them specifically.
Yes.
That's a party line.
Yeah, so attitudes towards children. And look, I have this whole thing. I have a page in my second brain about like this topic of like, I think people are mean to kids kind of thing. And yeah, the general gist was that like people weren't that nice to kids in the 14th century. They didn't take them seriously. They weren't like, yeah. Anyway, I brought that up.
Driving.
Oh yeah, the driving thing. Yeah. So I think if you live in a place where you have a strangely warped sense of the cost of traveling certain distances, I think you should try and think about that and do it more often. And I think there's just something to be said of like the physical distance just changes the vibe, man. Like the friends who I hang out with in Oxford, if they happen to be here in London or something and we were just hanging out, it would be different, man. It's not like a day trip. There's a day trip vibe. There's like there's like a proof of work vibe, of like, I've gone this distance to like hang out with you and this is a momentous thing, rather than like, let's like grab a coffee, mate.
Yeah, I think like as soon as I discovered podcasts in like 2016, probably, I suddenly just completely transformed car journeys, because previously I used to consider train journeys as being like a gain overall.
Yeah, I can do stuff on the train.
Because I can get stuff done on the train. Like it's basically like time travel.
Right.
You start in one place, you end up in another place, and you've actually...
Yeah, you haven't lost any time.
Whereas cars were like pure time wasting, because I'd only listen to music. But as soon as I discovered podcasts, now car journeys are such a net positive in my life.
Right.
And so commuting an hour to work and back every day, like I've been doing for the last 1 year, I don't even notice that time is gone.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And so this idea of doing lots of kind of car journeys was partly why I prompted the purchase of a new car.
Are you going to unveil it here on the podcast or not?
Nah.
Save it for the video.
but because my car at the moment is sort of on its last legs, it's done like 180,000 miles. It breaks down every few weeks. But it's still a generally very pleasant car to drive. And so what I was thinking is that, so earlier today I was invited to a work barbecue, which would have required driving for 50 minutes back and 50 minutes the other way. And I sort of got 10 minutes into the journey and it was pouring down with rain, and I was like, I don't know if this is actually going to go ahead. And I made the decision to kind of turn around and do something productive at home. I like film a video, which I ended up doing. But I was thinking, if I had a car that was more of a pleasant experience, I would have actually done the extra extra 80 miles and attended this barbecue. And I suspect I probably would have been glad I put the effort into doing it. Equally, I've got lots of friends from university who I'm still in touch with, but I don't see as often as I'd like to, purely because they live an hour away from me.
Yeah.
And so I think that if the experience of driving becomes such a positive, it actually encourages that good habit, which involves keeping in touch with friends.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
The insight I've had, again, like through listening to an audiobook driving, is that Malcolm Gladwell is really good.
Oh, mate, what are you listening to?
I'm listening to Talking to Strangers.
Oh, okay.
And it's amazing. Like, but it's amazing from a writing craft point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the first chapter he makes 1 point. In the second chapter he makes 1 point. In the third chapter he makes 1 point per chapter. But he dresses it up in such an interesting narrative that, like, this is a non-fiction book about connecting with strangers and how we can't see across the gulf of, like, you know, white and black, liberal, conservative, etc. But the stories he tells are just so freaking good. And he, like, sets the scene and talks about kind of this thing that happened in the CIA and this Cuban spy and how there was a double agent involved, and really goes into it, all ultimately to make the point that why can't we tell when people are lying?
Yeah.
And that's just so clever. And I'm like, damn, this guy knows his stuff.
That's sick. Yeah, he's a real master of storytelling, but he gets criticism for it because
I can imagine he's so popular that it's cool to hate on him now.
I think there is an element of it's cool to hate on him, and there's also an element of, like, he could just be tricking you and you wouldn't know.
Yeah,
like that
could be dressing up.
Should be a concern, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the criticism he receives. You can find a 4-part series on my blog where I have made notes on his masterclass, which we won't talk too much about because they're not sponsoring us.
They actually have an affiliate program.
Really?
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking at some point when I've run out of content ideas for YouTube videos, I'll just go through all the masterclasses and do like a book club series, but, you know, summarizing insights from each masterclass in my own words.
That's killer, yeah.
And linking to the affiliate thing in the video description.
Yeah. I do think masterclass is great. There was a period about a year ago where I was listening to, like, masterclass as, like, premium podcasts almost. And it's just really cool. They're just really good podcasts. Yeah, if you just listen to them. Yeah, Gladwell's sick. That's really cool. Maybe we can do a book episode on that once you're done.
Oh yeah, good shot.
All right, there were a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. It hasn't been that long, mate. All right, wait, just give me a sec.
Look, I think you should write these down. We save them for next time.
I had an insight.
Okay, what's your
Oh,
insight?
mate, so funny. All right, so my main social interaction this week.
He sounded almost like Rafe. Rafe, you know, Josh Barry comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Be like, blow Joe. Like, oh, mate, just had a great insight.
Yeah. We'll link to Josh Barry as well. Man, the comedy scene is so good. Like the sort of Instagram and YouTube comedy scene, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. All right. Okay, he had a dinner party at the London flat this week with, there was six. Wow. Sorry, mate. Sorry, blow Joe. There were 6 attendees, and one of them had the funniest and most interesting anecdote. So we were talking about, like, the conversation turned to, like, cancel culture and stuff for a bit. And one of the guys said that there's a funny thing that happens at his work. Basically, they use a program called Slack to communicate internally. And on Slack, you can do emoji reactions to things. If someone, like, writes a message, you can give them, like, an emoji thumbs up or any emoji you want, right? And he said that, you know, he said that in his head, there's a bit of, like, you know, all right, I want to give the thumbs up emoji, but, like, what color do I go for? So, like, he's a white guy, but he goes for the default, the yellow one. But there's another guy who's a white guy in the company who goes for the white one. And my friend, the white guy, feels really weird about that because internally in his head, he's thinking, wow, what a racist, what a white supremacist. What's he choosing the white emoji for? And then I thought to myself, man, that's actually so interesting because if I saw like a a brown guy choose a brown emoji or a black guy choose a black emoji, I think, yeah, more power to you, brother. Let's find the good fight. But if I saw a white guy choose the white emoji, I'd be like, whoa, hold up, what's going on here, kind of thing. It was so funny. It was like the funniest thing.
I guess you had to be there.
Oh wow, okay, maybe. Maybe you had to be there. It's just a funny phenomenon, right?
Yeah, well, quite.
That like this is the frontier. No, I just thought it was really, really funny.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. Right, I think we should read a review and call it a day.
All right, fine.
So whose car are you driving tomorrow?
Mimi's.
Oh, is it alive?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right, let's read out a review. Just overheard my mum in the other room use the phrase high optionality.
But like in the midst of talking in Urdu.
Yeah, it was like Urdu, high optionality. Man, I'm so happy about that.
It's almost like you're an influencer.
Yeah. All right, we got a 1-star review recently. The 1-star review was, the quality of the last episode is horrendous. Please don't do this again.
Wow.
Scathing.
It's absolutely scathing. We should turn this into an Instagram clip and then beg everyone, if you're watching this, please leave us a nice review. We'll put a link in my Instagram bio if you're if you're watching this.
Yeah, what's the thing? What's the point of reviews? We've had 1,700 podcast ratings.
I think the ratings partly help it
the rankings,
like, or something like that.
Yeah, I think we actually now have a permanent spot in the society and culture rankings in the UK. It's not a very high spot. It's like 60th or something. But I think we didn't have that a while ago, so that's kind of cool.
Thank you, everyone who's left reviews.
Yeah. All right, yeah, whatever. Let's call it a day. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening.
If you like this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on the Apple Podcasts website if you're not using an iPhone. There's a link in the show notes.
If you've got any thoughts on this episode or any ideas for new podcast topics, we'd love to get an audio message from you with your conundrum, question, or just anything that we could discuss.
Yeah, if you're up for having your voice played on the podcast and your question being the springboard for our discussion, email us an audio file MP3 or voice note to hi@notoverthinking.com.
If you've got thoughts but you'd rather not have your voice played publicly, that's fine as well. Tweet or DM us at NOverthinking on Twitter, please.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
That's it for this week. Thank you for listening.
If you like this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on the Apple Podcasts website if you're not using an iPhone. There's a link in the show notes.
If you've got any thoughts on this episode or any ideas for new podcast topics, we'd love to get an audio message from you with your conundrum, question, or just anything that we could discuss.
Yeah, if you're up for having your voice played on the podcast and your question being the springboard for our discussion, email us an audio file MP3 or voice note to hi@notoverthinking.com.
If you've got thoughts but you'd rather not have your voice played publicly, that's fine as well. Tweet or DM us at NOverthinking on Twitter, please.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.